Hello one more time from Biel, Switzerland. It's time to analyze my 6th round game with Russian Grandmaster Boris Grachev. I had black pieces and he started with d4, and after d5 he surprised me with c4. Well, his favorite line starts with bishop f4, and after c5 e3, knight c6, he plays c3. Well, it is really not easy to see a 2700 player playing such an opening, but Boris regularly uses this and he has a lot of success with it. Well, of course I was not worried and I prepared for this, but as I said, I was surprised already on move 2, and after c6 Boris made another surprise. He played a not so ambitious move, e3. Well, now if I would go knight f6, which looks like a normal move, white can go knight c3, and now bishop f5. I always want to develop this bishop somehow in my Slav lines. Now it's not good because white can take on d5, and after c takes d5 he plays queen b3. And it's not easy to defend this pawn on b7. Queen b6 would be the most normal move, but white can take on d5, and after queen b3 knight f6 comes with check and white wins a pawn. So black has to play something else here, and he can sacrifice a pawn, but compensation is probably not sufficient. So black actually cannot develop the bishop in this position to f5, and if white starts with knight c3 here, and I go knight f6 always, then e3, and we get to this position where I cannot develop the bishop to f5, and I normally use either a6, e6 or g6. Well, that's why e3 looks like a bit weaker move to me, because now I get a chance to play bishop f5, and after knight c3 I can just play e6. White doesn't have any tactical tricks, and my position is already very good. After knight f3 I didn't want to play knight f6 and transpose to normal Slav lines. After knight h4 black's position is good, but still white is trying to fight for some small advantage. Black can play either bishop g6 immediately or first bishop e4. For white it's normally not good to take, because after d takes e4 this knight on h4 is really bad. So white plays f3 and bishop g6, and okay, there are too many games played in this position, and white has tried numerous approaches, but black's position is really solid and he shouldn't have too many problems out of the opening. But I didn't even want to give this chance to my opponent, and I played knight to d7. I'm still keeping h4 under control, and for white it's now not so easy to play a move. He played a very normal move, bishop d3. I already don't know if there is anything better here, and now I can simply take and enter some position that in my opinion is completely equal. I would not give any advantage to white here, and I already played like this and I know the typical ideas, but I like this move even more because I think my bishop on g6 is very strong, and if white takes this bishop at any moment, I think I improve my pawn structure a bit, because this pawn on g file somehow is stronger than pawn on h file, probably because it's attacking two squares and not only one. And also I open some squares for my rook. So now he could play something like castle, knight f6. Well, this is actually my game with Misha Gurevich, played just a few weeks ago. Queen d3, if I remember well, I played like this. I took on e4, and I played an interesting novelty. I don't know if it's a novelty. Queen f6. I thought of this move during the game, and I want to put my queen to f5, and actually I even got a better position quickly after the opening. So I had some nice memories about this game, and I wanted to try to repeat similar things. That's why I played the bishop g6, but now I'm not sure. Now maybe I will just take his bishop on d3. He used his chance to push e4 before I develop my knight to f6, and now it's normal to take. He takes with knight. Okay, I could play knight f6 here. This was one possibility, and actually if white takes, I was really happy. I'm not sure how I would take, pawn or knight, but I thought he would go knight c3. And okay, position still is good for me. Just like this, I can play bishop e7 and castle. I mean, black has nothing to worry about in this position generally. White has a bit more space, but also sometimes he can have his pawns can be a bit weaker. So this was one reasonable option. I considered also bishop takes e4, bishop takes e4, and bishop b4 check. Now, what is white going to do? He cannot cover with knight because I go knight df6, and he's going to have some problems to defend his d4 pawn. Bishop d2 is never a worry for me because I will just exchange, and positionally already I might even be better because I will develop my knight with tempo. I'm not sure which knight will go to f6, probably this knight. Then I will castle, and my pawns are very well placed to limit his bishop. d4 pawn can be a bit weak in a long run, and I really enjoy playing this position. But the problem after this bishop b4 is that white can play king f1, and I'm sure Boris would very easily play such move because now he doesn't have any weakness and he has enough time to play g3, king g2, and then he will enjoy this bishop pair. Still, black's position is solid, but I must admit that white has some advantage here. So I didn't want to do this. Knight f6, knight gf6 was one option, and finally I decided to play bishop b4 check immediately. Now if he plays bishop d2, this is the position that I want. So king f1 is now not good, of course, because I still have both of my bishops, and he just, okay, probably it's not too bad for him, but I will just play knight f6, bishop will return to e7, and my position will be excellent. So he plays the normal move, knight back to c3. And now I wanted to use the fact that his queen is already doing something, protecting the bishop on d3, so I played queen a5. It still looks like a normal move. I'm attacking his knight, and he cannot protect with bishop d2 because of his bishop on d3. And to protect with queen somehow, for example, a move like queen c2 doesn't look that great. Maybe it's possible, I don't know. I would spend some time to think about knight b6, attacking his pawn on c4. Maybe I have other options. In any case, I think he played the best move. He took now on g6, and after hg, he protected his knight in the most natural way with his bishop. And I started to realize that maybe I didn't play this opening so perfectly, that maybe white will get some small advantage. Still, it's nothing to worry about too much. For example, if I jump like this and he plays a3, let's say, okay, normally he doesn't want to play a3 just like that, and then let's say I return with my queen to c7. Okay, some position like this can happen easily, and I think white has some small advantage, because his bishop is now strong. If this bishop would be light square bishop, my position would be excellent, but now this position is strong, and pawn on d4 has enough protection. Still, position is probably playable, really. White will castle, put his rook to e and d files, and maybe okay, he's just a bit better. So I wanted to try to do something a bit different, and finally I came up with this move. I saw when I looked at Petrosyan's games that he likes to put his knights on squares like f5, so I decided to do something like this too. And well, castle was a really normal move. White is trying not to waste time to push a3. He wants me to take this knight on c3 without being chased, and here I really spent much time now. I spent maybe more than 20 minutes. Let me just check. Yes, I spent 23 minutes, 27 minutes in this position. 27 minutes. It sounds crazy, but I think I found a good move, because now I don't want to take on c3 without being chased. I want to make a useful move, and on the other hand I don't want to castle, because I still want my rook to stay on h8 and maybe create some threats. Very often black can just go rook h5 and king f8 and activate this rook along the 5th rank. So I really wanted to play this move. It was at the top of my list, and I only had one problem, and this problem was move knight e4. If this move doesn't work, I wanted to play definitely rook d8, but I was scared a bit, because now I saw, for example, if I take his bishop on d2, he has check on d6, and after king f8 he can take pawn on b7, then he will also take my rook. It didn't look great. So after knight e4 I was planning to go knight f6, and now everything would be fine if he wouldn't have this move, but he does have this move. So I was thinking a lot how to create something here, and at first well, he wants to take my pawn on b7. At first I was planning to go queen b6, but then I understood that he can simply take on b4 and play queen b3. And now I have to exchange queens. Now b7 is hanging, a7 is hanging. Maybe by playing b6 and a5 I can save pawns, but I will have weaknesses, and I thought this position wouldn't be good. So I looked at other moves, and finally I saw that after bishop d2, knight b7, I can go queen c7. Now white obviously has to take on d8 or he will lose a piece. And at first, when looking at this position, I was thinking only about something like bishop h6, and then white can take my pawn on e6 or f7. I'm not sure what is better. Now he has rook and 2 pawns for 2 pieces, but my e6 is very weak, and I really thought this position was close to lost. And then I saw a very nice idea. I wanted to play bishop f4. Now I want to take his pawn on h2, so he doesn't have time for things like knight e6 or knight f7. He has to play g3, and now I take king d8. It is a very important idea. And now actually he cannot take my bishop. I couldn't evaluate this position so easily, because he can still play some normal moves and I still don't have to run away with the bishop. But somehow this pawn on g3 is, in this position, is more important than the bishop. It is very, very difficult thing to believe, but it is like this. If he takes my bishop, I take queen f4, and now I want to go rook h3, and this will probably win the game. And if he tries to protect this knight with his rook, I can still play rook h3, rook e3, and now I can jump knight f5, and my other knight can go to g4. This position looks really fantastic. I didn't really calculate so precisely after this. I simply understood that in this position I have very, very good chances. So I was still not sure what happens if he doesn't take my bishop on f4, but I thought it was a playable position, and I decided to go for rook d8. But it took me so much time, and I understood that what I gain by playing this move is something very small, but still I just wanted to try to play the best move. And after rook d8, I asked him after the game. In this position he simply didn't check knight c5 at all, a move that looked so dangerous. He played he looked a bit at the position, he did spend 10 minutes here, and he played rook e1. And okay, it is a very normal move, and now I was not sure again what to do, and I didn't want to castle again because I wanted to keep my rook on h8, and I was afraid my most useful move, the move that I would love to make, is knight f5, but I was afraid about d5 here. I thought with king in the center it would be too dangerous to play like this. So I simply couldn't find a move here, and finally I decided to go knight f6. Well, I'm not sure now. Now probably I would just castle, because I see it's not possible to play with king in the center, and I decided to go knight f6 and still keep this king in the center, get some more control over d5 square, but of course I'm losing control over e5 square, which is also important. Maybe it was also possible to just take on c3 even without being chased, but now the problem is he can take with the bishop, and d5 is coming. Yes, d5 is maybe coming, maybe not, I'm not sure, but in any case white has some advantage here. So after rook e1 I played knight f6, and he played a very good move, I thought, queen b3. And now I understood that his idea was that after my bishop c3 he wanted to take with the pawn. This is my guess. Now his d4 is secure, and my knight on f5 will not be that strong. He opens b file to attack my pawn on b7, and I just thought this position wouldn't be good for me. So okay, I don't want to take on c3 immediately, but I will have to do it on the next move most probably, and then he will take with the pawn. So I already started panicking a bit here, and I decided to castle without checking it good enough. I spent 7 minutes here, I went down to 38 minutes already. Somehow by playing very simple normal moves he managed to get so big advantage, and I just didn't check this move really carefully, and now after I played I understood that I made a terrible mistake, and that after rook e5, okay, I saw I would play knight c6, and I only checked d takes c5 when I can go, for example, knight c6 or maybe knight d7, and this position really is very good for me. And I also managed to see that a3 doesn't create some fantastic threat, because ab4 is not possible because I take queen a1. That's what I saw. But after I played my move, I already understood immediately that rook e5 would be very strong, and he played like this. I had no choice now already, I had to push c5, but my position was terrible because he has two fantastic options. One option is to push d5, So d5, and my knight on e7 is not protected. d6 is coming on the next move, and I really didn't see what to do. While he was thinking, I was very much afraid of this, and I was trying to check some crazy moves like b5, but or piece sacrifice with e takes d5, but nothing was working. Or maybe even another piece sacrifice like this, but all these moves would simply lose. And I understood that I would probably have to play knight f5. Now he takes on e6 and he wants to push e7, so I probably have to take. I still don't have less material, and he cannot take rook e6 immediately because I have rook d2, knight d2, knight d4. But this really looked like a terrible position to me, because my pawns are destroyed and I didn't think I had enough activity. I don't know if something like rook a to e1 is possible. I'm not sure. I didn't really see how white should play this position. Maybe it's not completely easy for him, but I thought it was a terrible position for me. And so I was very happy when I saw that after long thought, he spent 17 minutes here, he played a3. And I thought he made a mistake, but after I started to think myself, I understood that this is not a mistake, but actually a very strong move. Because now he, for example, I thought I would be able to play something knight d7, then when he moves his rook, just to take bishop c3 and go back queen c7, get away without losing any material. It's great. But then I saw he has queen b4, very nice move, and the best I can do here is to take queen b4, a takes b4, knight e5. I thought he would probably take with pawn, and after I take on b4, he jumps knight e4, and my b4 and a7 both pawns are hanging. I can protect them with the knight, and I thought simply white has total control here. 2 pieces plus total control means winning position. So I didn't have too many hopes here. Other possibility is knight c6, but then white takes a b4, queen a1, rook e1, queen a6, only possible retreat, and now he pushes b5. He wants to take my knight. I thought I would go knight a5. He plays queen a4. I have to go queen b6, and now he jumps somewhere with his knight. I'm not really sure where, and I will lose knight on a5. Probably there are many other tactical tricks, so I'm lost here too. So none of these moves working, and finally I managed to find the really only way to play this position, I think, and this is I take on c3. Now rook c5 would be a big mistake because I can take on d2, and now I have too much material. So he has to take. Bishop c3, and now c5 is hanging, so I have to play like this, and after queens are exchanged, now he has choice. He can either push d5, but he already understood it would not be so easy because I have a very nice hidden resource. So he was thinking very seriously about d takes c5, and actually after the game he even said that this was probably better, but I don't believe it was better, because by playing this he's actually sacrificing an exchange. I play knight d7, and now he doesn't want, of course, to run somewhere with the rook. He wants to take on b6. I take his rook. Now if he takes with the knight, I will play f6, so he should take with the bishop. And now I was planning to go rook d3. I want to get to b3 probably with this rook. If white pushes b4, I have rook a8. I thought this position was really playable. And well, he played the best move, d5, and now it really looks like I'm going to be destroyed. He will take d e6 and he will win one pawn, plus he will totally destroy my pawn structure. But I have this nice move, knight e8. And after he takes, I push f6. Now situation changed so much. I lost a pawn, but his knight and bishop are both limited by my pawns very much, and my knight on e7 is fantastic, and other knight can go to d6 or c7, and I thought I would have a chance. What I was worried the most here was rook going back to e1, because I understood for white it was not priority to keep this pawn, but to try to enter with his rooks on d file. And here I was not sure, to be honest, what I was going to do. The most normal move is knight c7, and after rook d1 I can exchange, but after rook d7 I will lose pawn on b7. White also has some activity. Okay, I can easily neutralize his activity after giving one pawn, but without a pawn it's not going to be easy. I had some idea here how to continue, but now somehow I don't remember it. Somehow I totally don't remember it. Okay, in any case, while I was thinking about what to do there, he played rook e2 and he really gave me some chance. Now my knight goes to c7. I'm preparing to go rook f e8, rook d6, jump somewhere with knight, and then neutralize this pawn, and his pieces cannot play so easily. I thought now it was time for him to try to open the queen side maybe somehow. I was expecting maybe b4, but then I can play rook d6. And if he takes, I also take, and after rook b1 I have b6. Still I'm putting all my pawns to dark squares and limiting his pieces, and maybe my position is totally fine. So he played here rook a to e1, defending this pawn. I don't know, I thought the rook f8 would be very good for me, and now I'm one step closer to eliminating this pawn after rook d6 and knight c6, for example. So he has to do something fast. One thing we were both considering was bishop d2, and here I was planning to push g5 and stop his bishop f4. And after h4, he was telling me something after the game about g4, which also can be good, g4 and rook d4, but I was planning to take on h4, because I saw now if white plays bishop f4, I can just jump to with my knight even to a bad square, because now he cannot take h4 and my next move is going to be g5. So I'm not a pawn down, and I don't see a reason why I should have some problems here. And if he tries to take this pawn, then I can, maybe rook d4 is also possible, but at least I can push g5. And he has to go back to f3, and again his pieces are very limited. I can maybe even start coming slowly with my king to g6, because my f6 pawn is going to need some protection. In any case, I thought my position was okay here, and I was expecting move that he played, the move g4. And instead of bishop d2, yes, g4. And it looked like a dangerous move. I didn't see what I was going to do. Now he wants to push g5. and weaken some squares. And if I go g5 myself, he wants to play h4. And now if I take, he takes with the knight. And then this knight can come to f5. So I was not too happy about this. But I saw a nice resource here. I can play rook d3 to make his king come to g2, and now I will play g5. So after h4 I will have knight g6. And now already maybe my position is even better. So of course he saw this, and now actually I started to think my position was probably totally fine. I thought maybe he would go rook e3 and we will exchange rooks. Now I can jump somewhere with this knight. I'm not sure, maybe g5 first, or just jump with this knight to c6 and grab this pawn on e6. Well, position started to look totally good. And he played knight h4. I was thinking about this, and I was actually thinking this was not so great. But after he played, I understood that still I was going to have problems here. Now it's not easy to find another move. He will improve his position, at least with king g2, if I don't do anything. So I decided to go for g5. Knight goes to f5. I have to exchange, I thought. And then I play rook f3. And I'm going to take both white pawns. But what I have also to give something, I give him entrance on d file. He goes correctly with this rook, so that after rook f5, rook d. Okay, I was expecting maybe more. This move, rook d7, and now I don't have rook e6 because rook on e1 is protected. That's why he had to come with this rook. But he played rook d6 here. He wants still to hang on to this pawn, but probably rook d7 was a better move, wasn't it? Now I would have to take with knight on e6. Hang on, rook d7, knight takes e6, he takes on b7. It looks like I'm going to lose my pawn on b6. So I would probably go for rook f4, this is my guess. And after rook b6 I would play king f7. But now, well, I don't know, maybe it's not easy for him to save this pawn. I also have some play with rook g4, knight f4, rook h4 and so on. I don't know, maybe this position is also okay. But he played knight d6. Now already we were low on time, especially me. He had 16 minutes and I had 10 minutes. Well, there were still quite a few moves to be made before we get extra time. So now he wants to take my pawn on b6. b5 is not possible in view of bishop a5. He gets this important square for his bishop. But I have this move, rook f4, and I will simply take the pawn on c4, and he cannot protect with b3 because then I will play rook f3. So he has nothing better. He takes on b6, I take on c4. Nothing much to do. He takes on b7, and I have to take with knight. And now the situation cleared up. I was very happy to get this position where material is equal. My pawns are well placed on dark squares. His king is weak, so I might have even winning chances sometimes. Still, I thought I was worse because his a pawn might be dangerous. But my knight on e6 is really strong, so I had no doubts that normally I must not have problems in this position. It must be a draw. But I thought I was the one who had to be more careful. He played rook e3 move that I was expecting. He wants to push now b3 and a4. And I had my answer ready. Rook a4, stopping his main idea to push his queenside pawns. I also had other idea to get my rook to a6, protect my knight one more time and free my other rook. And of course, most important thing for me is to get somewhere with my king. For example, with king on f5, my position would be much better. But it's not easy to get there, because if I go king h7, bishop f6 is coming. Okay, here he decided to play rook d3 and offer me an endgame with two rooks that looks really very drawish, and I was not sure what to do because I had little time. After he played rook d3, I had 9 minutes, and I spent 5 minutes and decided to enter this rook endgame. I thought it was almost certainly draw, but it was probably a bad decision. Now I would make different decision, because really it looks like in this position I have also winning chances, and I should but the problem is I couldn't find a way for my king to get to f5. So I will first show you what I did. I played knight f4, attacked his rook, he has to go here. I checked, he has to go to f1, I took his bishop, and okay, he took on g7. I played king h8. I took both of his queenside pawns, but I lost pawn on f6. He has also active rooks. Finally, I lost one more pawn, but still the position was really drawish. Nevertheless, I must admit that it's not total draw and black still has to prove it. But in this position, probably there was no need for such a thing, because we had same amount of time on clock. I had 9 minutes and he had 8 minutes. He even had less time than me here. And I had to find some better way to play. I'm not sure how. But my feeling is I must not have problems here. Maybe, okay, just one idea now. Maybe I can go something like rook f4 to protect my f6 pawn. And well, do I want to go king h7? I don't, because he'll play rook e3. So maybe this is not such a great idea. Well, I feel there should be something here, but I cannot show what exactly. Maybe king f8. It looks like a reasonable move, but I don't know what my idea is. Okay, if he doubles, I can probably play rook d8. Now maybe he has to exchange. Maybe this was the right way to play. And my rook is blocking his pawns. Now the position seems really good. Maybe this was one good way to play, but I'm sure I even have different ways. Okay, in any case, I made a mistake here, I think. Now I would play differently. I couldn't resist this temptation to go to this endgame, because it looks really like a draw. King f1, he cannot go to g2 because of rook g4. Actually, I will show it because it's some perpetual. And king f3 or king h3, I will just give check and go back. Of course, he should better avoid first rank, because he will be checkmated. So he goes king f1, and I take on c3, he doesn't take, he took on g7, king h8, he checked a few times to put his rook to a better place, c7 behind my pawn, which is very logical. I was expecting this, but still he cannot avoid losing both of his queenside pawns, after which it must be an easy draw. That's what I thought. And after rook a3, he played this check, I have to go to the corner, and he played the rook g6. If I remember correctly, I will just check my score sheet. He didn't go to g6, he played to f7. In any case, it doesn't really matter, I have to take. He takes on f6, and now we get a very interesting endgame that looks like a very easy draw. 2 pawns versus 2 pawns, what could be easier? But still, it was not easy for me to prove it. And I basically had two ideas. First, when we entered this endgame, I thought it was immediately a draw. I thought I would go rook h3, and after king g2, rook h7, forcing him to take. Then I go king g7, and the first move that I saw for him was rook f5. Then I double my rooks on h file, and he will take on g5, but after king f6 I will get his h2 pawn, and it's a really elementary draw. But in this position he can go with his rook to b6 or a6. It is much stronger, and now I cannot double my rooks on h file, and I have to suffer. So maybe I even lose one more pawn. So I understood there was no easy draw, and I would have to suffer. My other idea was to check on c1, and after king g2 to push c4. And I saw that if he goes something like check, check, and take the pawn, I go rook g8, and I get a very easily drawn endgame. I thought like this. Because of my c pawn, white cannot really push his pawns. I thought this was an easy draw, and probably I was right. But the question is, what happens if he goes rook g3? Maybe I'm just lost. So okay, in any case, I thought I found a good way for him to play in case I check and push c4, or even better, I thought I don't have to check, I can just push c4 immediately because I can check later. But he can go rook h6, king g8, and rook h5. This was bothering me because now I cannot exchange rooks, and it looked like I would probably lose both of my pawns and then have to defend this famous rook endgame without 2 pawns. So when I understood that there was nothing better, I decided to play rook h3, king g2, and rook h5. I discovered this defensive setup after rook c5. I played rook g8. Maybe he didn't play rook c5, maybe he played first rook f5. Let me just not show something wrong. Yes, he played rook f5, and I just played rook g8, and my plan was to wait, and I'm pretty sure white cannot win this position. Now I will have to rely on my score sheet because we played more than 100 moves more from this position, so he was trying in many different ways to trick me, and he finally managed to trick me. So rook takes c5, I played king h7, rook f to d5. Most of the moves are not so important. White normally cannot win, but king g3, I played king g6, rook a5, rook f7. Okay, he put his rooks far from my king, which is generally good. I decided just to wait. Rook b8, king h7, rook b4. Nothing special going on. He wants to put his rook to g4 maybe. No, he changed his mind. I don't know exactly why. Rook a6, rook f7. Now he pushed f3. Well, I was happy that he pushes some pawns, because once his pawns are on f3 and h3, it is very easy to just exchange both rooks and get a pawn endgame that is draw. So it was important for me. Even with just one pawn on f3, sometimes maybe it can be draw. I was not sure. So I played rook h6, rook a5, rook h5, king g2. Really not so important what's going on right now, because we both have little time and he's trying to pose me some small problems and get me to spend some more time, and also to make me a bit tired, so that I will maybe be more likely to make some mistake. But okay, he's trying some things at the same time. Now he put his rook to g4, and I made another setup with my rooks on g-file. Actually, I was quite happy with this setup. He played king f2, rook h6, but then he understood this h-pawn needs protection. Now he went rook g3. Now he wants to sometimes check from h3 and then with other rook from b8. I played king g8. I understood now that maybe my king would have to go to f7. I was not too happy about this. Okay, king f2, rook h6, king g1, rook g6, rook g6 and king g2. Okay, he gave me one tempo, but I can just play king h7. It was not very important, I think. Rook e5, I wait, king g8, king f1, king h7, king f2, rook h6, rook g2. This is where I felt that I'm very close to a draw. Not yet actually. For some reason I didn't play rook h3 here, although I was considering it. I don't remember now exactly why, but a little bit later I did it. So it was like this, and now I played rook h3. So now I thought it would be a really easy draw, because now my rooks are very active. I thought I would easily exchange one pawn, but he tricked me somehow. Rook f5, and here I didn't have enough time. Now I was feeling that it must be immediately a draw, but I didn't have time just to calculate something very simple. I played king h6, maybe it's good. I thought maybe I should play somewhere like this with my rook, and probably it's enough for easy draw. But okay, I didn't have time to check, and I decided to just play solid and keep this position. I didn't want to make some blunder. Rook f8, king h7, but now he goes king g1 and he wants to go rook g4, king g2, and then get same position that he already had before. rook h4, rook g3, and I let him have some chances again. I played rook h6, king g2, and rook b6. Well, here I was feeling like I was in some kind of Zugzwang, I don't know. Okay, probably I have many different moves, but I had very little time. Finally I played this, and after rook h3 I was afraid to go back to h6, because I thought that maybe he will go rook h8, then take, and I was afraid of this position, but now I see that maybe rook h7 is just a draw. Well, of course, I didn't have enough time to check. If he moves his rook, I will put my rook to h5, and I know this position he cannot win. What happens if he takes? Where will he go with his king? Nowhere, he cannot win this position. It is just important that I don't go to g6 immediately. I can just wait, for example, here. And once he plays king g4, king g6, he has only one spare tempo, but this is not enough. It's a draw. So if I had just 7 or 8 minutes here, or maybe even 5 minutes, I would just cover with my rook and it would be an easy draw, but I didn't have this time, and I played king g6, and I'm giving him more and more chances. Now he gets with both of his rooks to h-file, and my king is out in the open. And of course it still must be a draw, but now already it's a bit problematic. He played this rook to h5, rook b6, and now he played rook h6. He offered me rook exchange. And actually I'm probably losing my g-pawn if I exchange rooks now. I don't see a way how to protect it during the game. I didn't see, and now I don't see either. Maybe there is a way. Maybe I can just wait. Let's say like this. And king e7. I don't know, but this looked dangerous. I was afraid I would somehow lose my g-pawn. So I decided to run away from this exchange. I played rook b3. And now I want to push g4. My idea was to trick him. For example, if he goes rook c6, I wanted to push g4, and now after this check, his rook on h8 is under attack, and I will take on f3. And other move rook doesn't help either. If he goes with this rook to c8, I again push g4, and now in the same situation his other rook will be under attack. So he understood this, and after my rook b3 he played h3. A good move. I was expecting it, but I didn't have time to find a good answer for this move, and I quickly lost the pawn here. I was afraid to go now. I wanted to go rook g6 because I saw rook f8 was not dangerous. I can go king g7, and I thought everything would be fine. Just because here if I take on f8, I will lose my g-pawn. But then I saw after king g7 he can put his other rook to 8 rank. And somehow I got scared. I don't know why I got scared, because it doesn't look so scary. He cannot do anything with these rooks. At least it looks now like this, but during the game it was looking somehow dangerous. And I decided not to go rook g6, but I returned with this rook to b7. And around here I understood I would lose this g5 pawn. He played rook c6, I moved my rook to d7, then he put his rook to h6, and probably I cannot save my pawn anymore. I played again rook b7, rook f6, king g8, and rook f5. Okay, I tried to trick him a little, to exchange rooks, maybe. Well, now if he takes, I take with my rook, and after rook g6 I have rook g7. Pawn endgame is of course a draw, but he understood this easily and he played rook e5, and now I cannot stop rook h5 and I lose my pawn. Only way I can stop it, I can play rook e7, but now he can just take and play king g4, and now I'm losing, finally I'm losing my g5 pawn. So now psychologically it was not easy because I knew I missed a much easier draw. Now this endgame, I know it's a theoretical draw, but of course practically it's very difficult to defend it, especially with 1 minute or 2 minutes on the clock. I played king g7, rook h5, rook e1, check, king f6, h4. His approach was like this. He was trying to push his h-pawn and keep his other pawn on f3, and he knows some winning position. Okay, I was not sure about this. What I know about this position is that my king must not be cut off on 8 rank, and other thing that I know is I try to keep my rook on a1, for example, in around that corner, and always to check his king from somewhere. So I didn't want now to let him push his pawn. I played rook f1, rook g8. Of course I have to play king f7, rook g3. Now he wants to go king h6 and maybe push h5, so I played rook to h1 to stop him from doing this. And after king g5 I played king g7. He went now rook g4. I played rook to a1. And he played like this, check, covered, back. Already move 100, so let's continue. Now he played rook b5, rook g1. Up to this moment I was pretty sure I was playing good. Rook f1, rook g5. But now I was not sure where I should go. Maybe king h7 is correct move, maybe king f6, I don't know. I played to f6, and after rook g8, king f7. Okay, actually this is already the position we had earlier. We repeated one more time this, and again I go rook h1. Now he goes rook g4 a bit differently. I go rook to the corner, king h6, check. Now for me it was important what happens if he goes king h7. I thought I would go rook f6. Now he can include this check, it's probably good for him, and then go rook g3 to defend his pawn. And now I thought I would be able just to check his king. And if king h6, just one more check. So to go to the corner, of course, it's not possible. It didn't look good. I will probably go rook f5. And there's nothing he can do now. So he understood that he cannot win by going with his king to h7, and he returned to g5. I checked on a5, king f4, king f6, king g3. He's going all the way back with his king. I played rook b5, rook g8, and I played rook b1. He played rook a8, king g6, rook a6, king f5. I was not totally sure, of course, but it looked logical. King g6, king g4. Now, when we studied this position, our coaches would tell us to always give this check in similar situations, so I did this. King goes to f4 and I go back with the rook. Check on a6, king h5, rook a8. Now I cannot take the pawn because of the checkmate. So I check on b4, king has to go back to g3, I go back to g6, rook g8, and maybe I made some critical mistake somewhere around here, I don't know, because after I played king f5, he pushed h5, and he told me after the game that he knows that this position is winning for white. So it is possible that I made a mistake. Still, I'm not completely sure. I played rook b1 and he went rook g4 now. And he says if he gets the position with pawn on h6 and rook on h4 that it's winning, but luckily for me he forgot how to win. I played rook h1, rook h4, rook g1, king f2 and rook g7. Well, I have to block this pawn somehow. I need to block it with my king, but my king is too far away. So he pushes h6, rook h7. I was really worried in this moment because I saw my only chance was to go king g6, f7, g8. That's what I tried to do. But after king g3 I played king g6, but I still couldn't see how he would win. King g4, king f7, and now the most important thing for me was to see that after king h5, king g8, check, I can go king h8, and after rook g7 I have rook h6 luckily, and this is now a stalemate. So here he saw the same thing, and well, somehow he forgot how it was winning, so I'm happy about this. Of course, I still don't know. I will check one more time some Dvoretsky books where he explained everything 100 times, but even that I checked so many times, still I cannot understand this position. It is so complex, just with so few pieces on the board. I played king g8 now. My idea is to go with rook to a7 and then king h7, and for this position I know it's a draw. So he pushed f4 now, and I played rook a7. He pushed h7. Maybe now it's already a draw, I didn't see for him. And for this position I know it's a draw because I played as a stronger side game with Lazar Nestorovic, and I even managed to win this position, but we got exactly this same position, and I understood that if black just waits with his rook on 6th rank, there's nothing white can do. So king h8, he pushed f5, and I just played rook a6. My idea is, of course, anytime white pushes, I will just take this pawn with stalemate. So there's nothing white can do, and now it's quite an easy draw. So After rook a6, he played rook h1. Just tried probably to get some extra time to think. Rook a6. Now he started going somewhere with his king, but it doesn't matter, I'm just waiting. I could remember this from my other game. Rook b6, rook a6, again rook b6, and now he decided to try something. Of course I take the pawn, and rook d6. Well, here it is much easier if I can stop his pawn on the 5th rank, so I tried to do this first. I don't know what was the best way. Probably there is some very easy way to make draw here. I played rook b1, and now my idea was, well, if he pushes f6, I can go king g6. It's a very easy draw. And if he plays king f6, I want to go rook f1. This is also a very easy draw because white can never push his pawn. It works very simply, this position. For example, if white goes king e6 with idea to push f6, I go king g7. And he can never push this pawn. If check, I just go to f8. If king f6, I go back to g8. Check, king h7. It can never happen. King e6, king g7. And in this position, the only thing white can try is rook f8 with idea king e7. And then to push pawn, but then black can go rook a1. And if white goes somewhere there, I return to f1. It's a very easy draw, very safe draw. I want to play like this, to finish the game like this. But he didn't let me. He played a better move here. After my rook b1, he played king to e6. So I had to make other draw. I also knew this other draw. So I go rook b8. And he played king f7. I let him push his pawn to the 6th rank. Rook 8 doesn't do anything, I just check. King cannot go to f8 because I go king h6, king g5 and eliminate his pawn. So it's very important, most important thing in this position is to keep rook on 8th rank. And there's nothing white can do. So he played rook a7. Now of course I don't want to go rook c8 and let his because rook will be too close to his king, and maybe sometimes his king will run away from checks and attack my rook. So I try to keep my rook as far as possible from his king. He played f6 now. Okay, he cannot do without this move, obviously. Sorry, rook a7. I played king h6. King can always wait on h6 and h7. f6, I just played back to h7. Some waiting rook moves, I also wait, rook e7. I go king h6. Now he tried rook e1, and after check, he played king e6. But then I can go king g6, and after check, I just go to h7. Now, the important thing is if he pushes the pawn, I start checking. When king gets very close to my rook, then I will go with my rook to f5 and collect this f7 pawn. So he tried one last thing. He played rook d1, king g6. He repeated moves once. Then he played rook f1. Okay, if I would now go king g6 after f7, I'm losing, but okay, this is really very easy to see. So instead, in this position, after rook f1, I started checking, and he immediately said draw, and of course I agreed, and that's how this 155 moves long game finished. Okay. I'm quite happy with the quality of my play. I missed some things, but okay, game was very long, and my concentration level didn't drop. I managed to save very difficult position, and well, of course there are many things to think about. How opening went so wrong from equal position. I got small problems, then a bit bigger problems, then I made one big mistake and got huge problems. Then I managed somehow to save my position, and near the time trouble I made another mistake where I entered this rook endgame. It was a mistake. I entered rook endgame where only he can play for a win. I should have tried to play something where also I have chances for a win. And position was like this. I was absolutely sure my position was totally fine. I had no doubts about that. After this position where he had two rooks and extra pawn on king's side, I needed a bit more time to force some draw somewhere, but he played really fast and well. He was creating always some small problems, and finally he got me tired. He got me to make a mistake, and he was even very close to winning the game if I can trust, and I think I can, his theoretical knowledge. His position was probably winning in one moment, but okay, I was lucky. I hope I will show something better in round 7 game that I will play with another Russian Grandmaster Igor Kurnosov. Tomorrow is a free day, and it will be really nice to rest after such a long fight.